The NHL just announced the regular season schedule for every team in the NHL. And after taking a little bit of a look at the Vegas Golden Knights schedule, I think it's time we kind of go over some of the key dates that are going to be coming once the regular season starts. And that's what we're going to be doing. We're going to go through some important games, whether it be for actual importance. This is start date, this is end date. We're also going to go through some really good rivalries as well as some return games. So, if you enjoy this video, why not give me a like? And if you enjoy this channel, if you're coming back on a consistent basis, why not subscribe? Because I have daily NFL, NHL, and NBA content, and I'm trying to reach 1,000 subscribers before the end of the year, and I can't do that without your guys' help. But let's not waste any more of your time. The key dates for the Vegas Golden Knights regular season. So, obviously, the first important key date is the opening night. And for the first time since the inaugural season for the Vegas Golden Knights, they will be having their first game of the season away at the LA Kings Arena. And this is on October 11th at 7 p.m. That's the opening night. A little bit of a later start than maybe we're kind of used to as of late because of all the weirdness that has been transpiring with the COVID situation. Did I say late? Early, I think. I think normally it was starting in later October, November. So kind of getting back on track here. October 11th, 7 p.m. Pretty good start. First time away since the first season against LA Kings. A really, really good rivalry against the Kings. But no super special game. There's nothing really implied in this game other than the fact that it's game one. You want to start with a win. Now, the first home game is 2 days later on October 13th at 7 p.m. Not really an important game by any means. It's against the Chicago Blackhawks. No really direct correlation between these two teams. Fleury's no longer there. I guess you could say this is a return game for Leonard, but Leonard hasn't been with them for quite some time, so nothing really important there outside of the fact that it's the first home game of the season. Now, the next important game, for me at least, is the first game against Colorado on October 22nd at 7 p.m. They just won the Stanley Cup. Vegas always plays really, really good against them. Every single game between Vegas and Colorado always seems to be a close one, and Vegas was the last team to beat Colorado in the playoffs. This is overall going to be a really good game, really good series throughout the entire year. These games are always really, really good and really, really tough. And this game, I believe, was at home, if I remember correctly. But October 22nd at 7 p.m. Next, we have Jack Eichel's return to Buffalo. Now, this happens on November 10th. This is at 4 p.m., a little bit of earlier game. So, last time that Jack played in Buffalo, he struggled quite a bit. This was last year, and he just returned. He'd been just kind of getting back into the groove of things. But on the other side of things, Alex Tuch played really, really well, and that's who was traded in the Jack Eichel trade. Alex Tuch and a couple other pieces as well as some draft picks. And Alex Tuch, I believe, actually ended up making the game-winning goal. So not only is Jack returning, but you also got to outplay Alex Tuch, who really was trying to go on a revenge game that time around. Next important game is Bruce Cassidy's return to Boston. So Bruce Cassidy, obviously, as we all know, just got signed to the Vegas Golden Knights. I have a video on that if you want to go check that out. I'll hopefully have that pop up here if I remember to put it. But Bruce Cassidy is first game back in Boston after being fired from that position. They move on from Cassidy. He comes to Vegas. He signs a pretty decent contract for them. That's on December 5th. That's at 4 p.m. Another early game. Can Bruce Cassidy get his revenge with a pretty good team in Vegas against, a Boston team that has a lot of question marks surrounding the team? Some of the next important games don't really have one specific date. It's over a long period of time. So from January 7th through January 21st, Vegas has its season-high 6-game home stretch. 6 games all in a row at home. You love to see that. Normally that's when you start getting the ball rolling, but sadly immediately after that you have a season high away games from January 22nd through February 9th for 6 away games. So back to back you have 6 home games followed immediately by 6 away games. Lots and lots of things that Lots of hot streaks, cold streaks can all occur in that very, very, short period of time, although it's a full year. And not only that, but right at the back end of that, I think around February 7th or so, is the All-Star game that will occur. So you have 6 home games, you have 6 away games, as well as the All-Star game in there. A little bit of a break here and there, but kind of a tough stretch when you go from always being at home to always being away. It's kind of hard to go from your home crowd all the time to never having a home crowd again. Then you have Pete DeBoer's return to Vegas. That happens on January 16th at 3 p.m. Again, a really, really early game, but Pete DeBoer, who went to the Dallas Stars, got fired from Vegas, is going to be returning to Vegas on January 16th. He ended up getting relieved from the coaching position, as we all know, due to a couple different reasons. And he's coaching his new team. He's back in his old town. How will he do in this new position? Will he be able to not only take the Dallas to a winning record and take them back to the playoffs, but how will he do going against the Vegas Golden Knights in the T-Mobile Arena? His first time there since leaving the Vegas Golden Knights. Another important date, Vegas plays the last game of the year versus Seattle Kraken on April 13th at 7. Now, after playing the first game last year at home versus Seattle, they're going to be playing the last game this year against Seattle in Seattle. So you completely flipped who went where and which time of the year it was. Now, some other key events, and I know we kind of went through this quick, but there's no when you have 82 games, it's kind of hard to say that one game is going to be really, really important. So you kind of go through some of these events here. Bruce Cassidy's return, Pete DeBoer's return, some rivalries here. Some other key events that we have here is obviously if anyone gets traded come draft time or free agency, anything like that, there's going to be more important games that are going to arise, as well as if Vegas goes out and gets a free agent. So if someone gets traded, I know some people have been floating some names around. I don't want to throw any out there, but if someone ends up getting traded or a free agent that Vegas currently has, unrestricted free agent or whatever, ends up signing with a different team, boom, right there, there's a revenge game. You add that to the list. But some other key events that we know of right now, probably one of the biggest one is where does Fleury end up? Now, I wouldn't say this is a revenge game, but it is a key event. Now, Fleury comes home, incredible. I'd love to see that, but I don't expect it one bit. So, wherever Marc-Andre Fleury ends up signing with will likely be an important game, especially when he returns to Vegas. There's always a huge crowd when Fleury plays his first game back in Vegas, and I expect the same thing. It just depends on where he's going to sign. I don't expect him to sign in Minnesota again, and I don't really expect him to come back to Vegas, although I would love to see that. Now, a couple other situations here is pretty much any game against Colorado is an important event. It's going to be a really good game. Like I said, pretty much all of them are really close. Both have solid teams. Colorado just won the Stanley Cup. Always going to be good ones. Kings. Every time Vegas plays the Kings, that's a really, really good rivalry. Opening night against the Kings. But I'd say most games against the Kings are going to be really, really good, especially since they're within the division, I believe you'd call it, division. Then you also have San Jose. This rivalry was really, really huge when Vegas first started. It's kind of dwindled off as time has went on, but I still expect this to be a good rivalry as time goes on. So any game against San Jose will be a good one. A couple other ones to look out for. Obviously, some people still find playing against the Capitals really, really important just because Vegas lost them the Stanley Cup. I don't really see it that way. Any game against the Oilers is important within the division, going against Leon Draisaitl, going against Connor McDavid. They just made the playoffs. They made a little bit of a run there. All those games I could count as pretty important. Another game that I didn't write on here that I should probably think of is probably the first game in Nashville, or the first game against Nashville, since they took that last wildcard spot and they ended up just squandering it away without having their goalie. So I'd say the first game against the Nashville Predators is probably going to be a pretty good game, pretty interesting game, one to circle. But just like overall, this season, there's 82 games. There's some incredible games here. There's going to be good storylines that continue to transpire as time goes on. But let's make a little bit of a casual prediction here, a casual prediction, because it's really hard. For football, maybe it's a little bit easier because you have only 17 games, 1-on-1. You can pick apart each individual game. But if you try to do that in hockey, not only are you playing some teams 4 times a year, which makes it really hard to pick, not only are you playing 82 games a year, which makes it really hard to pick because there's so many games, but injuries seem to occur a little bit more often and be more catastrophic when you have a bigger person injured. So it's really hard to make a firm prediction. So a casual prediction, I'm going to say Vegas makes playoffs. Vegas is not a wild card. They're going to be 2 or 3. I don't expect them to be 1 in the division, but I think they'll be 2 or 3. They'll get a little bit of a turnaround here, and they'll win 50 games. Is 50 fair? Is 50 fair? Is 50 second in your own division? I'm going to say 50. I'm going to say 46 to 50 games. This is about what Vegas will end up winning this year. And like I said, we have a lot of important games here, but every single game is important when you come down to it, especially down the stretch like we saw last year. A lot of games were really, really close, going to shootouts, and Vegas ended up losing them. Really important games. Every game is important, but these were some of the, bigger games that you should try to make sure that you don't miss when this season comes around. And that's the video. I know it's a little bit shorter of a video today, but I couldn't really go deep dive game by game. That's something that's really, really tough to do, especially with 82 games. And not everything has quite occurred yet. The way that the NHL does is a little bit weird. They do it before the draft. They drop schedule before the draft, drop schedule before free agency. We don't know any key events. Maybe some big trade happens, and now we're like, oh, we have a couple revenge games here. You never know what's really fully going to happen. So doing this really early is kind of tough, but analytically for YouTube and just for getting this out there right away on time when the news drops is really, really important. So I want to do a little bit early. And although this video might not be as put together as I'm used to doing, I think it will still be a pretty decent video. So if you enjoyed this video, give me a like. If you enjoy this channel, why not subscribe? I'm trying to reach 1,000 by the end of the year. I can't do that with your guys' help. I do daily NFL, NBA, and NHL news, and I'd love if you guys would return to this channel and just keep watching and interacting with me, commenting, all that stuff. I love having an interaction with all of you guys. And as always, I hope it taught you something today. Hope it made you smile. Hope it made you laugh. That something's really important to me. Affecting someone else's day in a great way, because every single day can be a great day if we all just put in the effort. And as always, you guys all be safe out there.
But something deep inside won't let me quit. I swear